Knowing the importance of being process focused as an athlete, what can you do to make sure that you keep your attention centered on the process and not on the outcome? Hey there, I'm Eli Straw, mental performance coach and the founder of SuccessStartsWithin.com. In this third video in the series on improving your focus as an athlete, you're going to learn how you can be more process focused. Now, if you haven't watched the first or second video in the series, I've linked both of those in the description below. There are a few tips and tools that I use with athletes that I'm working with to help them develop more of a process focused mindset. It's really a skill just like anything else within your game. And so to work on it, you have to put in the effort. But the more you work at it and the more you practice being process focused, the easier the habit is going to become. So tip number one to being more process focused is you want to use a good goal setting technique. This one's really going to help you be process focused because it's going to involve your long-term goals as an athlete. Whether they're goals that you set for this season or even goals that will be accomplished maybe a year from now or even 2 years from now, it's important to shift your focus onto the process. A way you can do this is through something known as a goal setting breakdown. This is a way for you to use an outcome-based goal to motivate yourself to turn your attention onto the process. And by going through the breakdown, you can feel confident that the work that you're putting in on a consistent basis is truly putting you in the best position to reach the goal that you want. Now, I'm going to show you an example of a goal setting breakdown for a yearly goal, but this same principle is going to apply if the goal is a couple years away or even just a few months away. So step number one is you want to clearly define your goal. And then for step two, you want to break it down into quarterly or monthly targets. And then step three, you want to set weekly goals that are leading to you achieving the goals that you set in step two. You want to make sure that these goals in this step, so the weekly goals, are more process focused. And then step four is where you're going to set daily goals that are going to accomplish your weekly goal. Now for these, be sure that these daily goals are more process focused. By going through a breakdown like this, you take a large outcome-based goal and you turn it into specific process-focused activities for you to do each and every day. Now, this is going to take your attention off the outcome and place it more onto the process. And if you've done this breakdown well, you trust that all of those steps you're going to take on a daily basis are leading to the outcome that you want. And then tip number two to be more process focused is to use objectives for practices and games. When it comes to staying focused on the process, you want to be sure that you're giving yourself something concrete to focus on. It's easy to say focus on the process, but it's a lot more difficult to actually focus on the process when you're playing. And so to help, you can set objectives for yourself. Now, these objectives are going to be 100% within your control, and they're going to be part of the process. They are a way for you to center your attention in the present moment. Now, while you want to set objectives for yourself for both practices and games, they're going to vary a little bit between the two. Practice objectives need to be focused on improving. They're going to have to do more with specific parts of your game that you're wanting to work on. Game objectives, on the other hand, while they're still going to be focused on the process, they're going to have less to do with wanting to improve and more to do with putting yourself in the best position to succeed. Think of these like a key that unlocks your peak performance. Here are some examples of practice and game objectives to give you a good idea of how you can set some for yourself. So practice objectives might be focus on my footwork, work on keeping my hands inside the ball, practice being quicker with my release, work on my backhands, focus on having explosive starts, work on having soft touches today. And then some game objectives might be stay balanced throughout my swing, watch the ball all the way into my hands, let the ball travel, follow through on every shot, feel confident and relaxed when I play. And then tip number three to stay more process focused is to stay present while you're competing. During games, it's easy to allow the outcome to creep into your mind. Whether you just made a mistake, your team's losing, your team's winning, it's going to be natural for you to think about the outcome. However, the more you do this, the less attention you're giving to what you're doing in the present moment. Not to mention the increased chances there are of you having fear or anxiety as a result of focusing on these outcomes. So it's important that during games you keep your focus centered in the present moment. Now, the objectives that we just discussed are going to help keep your attention in the present moment by reminding yourself of those objectives. But there's also another tool that you can use to keep your focus on the present, and that is your breath. Being processed focused is going to involve keeping your attention in the present moment, since the process is taking place in the present moment. So the more present your awareness is, the better. And to keep your awareness centered in the present moment, you can turn your attention onto your breath. Focus on taking some nice deep breaths and using something known as count breathing. Count breathing is where you breathe in for a certain number and then you breathe out for a certain number. It's a great way to not only calm yourself down by taking these deep breaths, but also to make sure that you are keeping yourself focused in the present moment, which means you are more focused on the process. Now, even though you're focused on the process, there are still gonna be times where you lose focus during games. So go ahead and click right here where I go through a strategy that you can use to refocus yourself during games when you become distracted.